First contact. The ESS Equinox cut through the void of space like a predator through dark waters, its sleek, gunmetal hull absorbing, rather than reflecting the distant starlight. Commander Elena Reyes stood at the center of the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display that hovered before her. At 43, she carried the weight of humanity's most advanced warship with the quiet confidence that had made her legendary among the Earth Space Defense Force. "Status report," she said, her voice calm yet commanding. Lieutenant Sato, the ship's sensor analyst, looked up from his console. "We're approaching the edge of the Kuiper Belt, Commander. All systems nominal." His fingers danced across the interface, pulling up streams of data that would have overwhelmed most human minds. However, quantum readings are showing some anomalies. Rise raised an eyebrow. "Define anomalies, Lieutenant." "Energy signatures that don't match anything in our database." Sato expanded the holographic display, revealing a series of complex waveforms that pulsed with an unnatural rhythm. "They're not random. There's a pattern, but it doesn't conform to any known natural phenomenon." The bridge fell silent. The Equinox was Earth's first deep space defense vessel, equipped with technologies that had taken humanity decades to develop. Its mission was ostensibly exploration, but everyone aboard knew the truth. They were humanity's vanguard, its first line of defense against whatever might lurk in the darkness beyond their solar system. Chief Engineer Maya Hassan spoke up from her station, her voice carrying the slight lilt of her North African heritage. "The quantum detection array is functioning at optimal capacity, Commander. Whatever we're detecting is real, and unlike anything we've encountered before." Wright studied the display, her mind racing through possibilities. Humanity had been venturing beyond their solar system for only 15 years. They had found evidence of life, yes, microbial organisms on Europa, primitive plant-like structures on Kepler 186f, but nothing intelligent, nothing technological. Until now. "Defensive systems to standby," she ordered. "Full spectrum analysis. I want to know what we're dealing with." The Equinox responded to her commands, its advanced systems humming to life. Quantum shields initialized, weapon systems ran silent diagnostics, and the ship's AI began collecting and processing data at speeds that would have been impossible just a generation earlier. "Commander," Sato called out suddenly, his voice tight with restrained excitement. "The energy signature. It's changing. It's responding to our sensor probes." Responding. The word hung in the air, heavy with implication. This was no natural phenomenon. "All hands," Rise announced, her voice steady. "Prepare for potential first contact protocols. This is not a drill." The unknown entity materialized before them like a mirage taking solid form. It was not a ship in any conventional sense, more like a collection of interlocking geometric shapes that seemed to both absorb and emit light simultaneously. Its surface rippled with patterns that hinted at technologies far beyond human understanding. "Size comparison?" Rise asked, maintaining her composure despite the alien vessel's intimidating presence. "Difficult to determine, Commander," Sato replied, his voice hushed with awe. "It appears to be fluctuating. Best estimate puts it at roughly 3 times our mass, but its dimensional presence is inconsistent." The alien vessel hung in space before them, neither approaching nor retreating. It emitted no recognizable communication signals, no radiation signatures that might indicate weapons charging or defensive systems activating. It simply existed, observing. "Open all standard communication channels," Rise ordered. "Transmit first contact package." Communications Officer Park nodded, initiating the carefully crafted sequence of mathematical principles, simple language constructs, and basic scientific knowledge that humanity had prepared for this very moment. The message was designed to be universal, a greeting that any technologically advanced species should be able to decipher. Minutes passed in tense silence. The alien vessel remained motionless, giving no indication that it had received or understood their transmission. Then something changed. The geometric patterns on its surface began to shift more rapidly, pulsing with increased intensity. "Commander," Sato said urgently, "we're receiving something." The main display erupted with a cascade of data, not audio or visual communication, but a complex stream of mathematical constructs and quantum information that threatened to overwhelm the Equinox's communication systems. "It's not just a message," Hassan observed, studying the incoming data. "This is an analysis. They're probing our technological capabilities, our biological makeup, our computational systems." She looked up, her expression troubled. "They're treating us like a specimen." Reyes felt a chill run down her spine. This wasn't the peaceful exchange of knowledge that humanity had hoped for. This felt like a clinical examination, a dissection performed on a living subject. "Can we decipher any intent from this?" she asked. Lieutenant Cohen, the ship's xenolinguist, frowned as he studied the data patterns. "It's not language as we understand it, Commander. But there are evaluative structures, hierarchical categorizations." He paused, his frown deepening. "If I had to interpret, I'd say they're assessing our threat level and finding us wanting." The alien vessel suddenly expanded, its geometric structure unfolding like a complex origami creation reversing itself. What had been a relatively compact form now stretched across their entire forward view, encompassing the Equinox in a semicircle of alien technology. "Defensive posture," Reyes ordered sharply. "Shields at maximum. Weapon systems online, but do not target unless I give the command." The crew responded with practiced efficiency, the Equinox's systems coming to full combat readiness in seconds. But Reyes knew they were facing something beyond their experience, perhaps beyond their capacity to fight. "They're transmitting again," Park announced. "Different pattern this time." The new transmission manifested as a series of complex multi-dimensional equations that seemed to shift and evolve even as they appeared on the ship's displays. Hassan studied them intensely, her eyes widening. "These aren't just equations, Commander. They're technological blueprints, incredibly advanced ones." She manipulated the display, isolating specific segments. "This appears to be some kind of faster-than-light drive system, but it operates on principles we've barely theorized." "Are they offering us technology?" Cohen asked, bewildered. "No," Reyes replied, her eyes narrowing as understanding dawned. "They're showing us how primitive we are. This isn't a gift. It's a demonstration." The alien vessel began to emit energy pulses that washed over the Equinox like waves against a shore. The ship's shields held, but sensors indicated the pulses were non-destructive, merely another form of analysis. "They're scanning us," Sato confirmed. "Deep scans, penetrating every level of our ship's structure." Lieutenant Commander Jackson, the tactical officer, tensed at his station. "Commander, request permission to initiate countermeasures. We're completely exposed here." Reyes considered for a moment, then shook her head. "Negative. We maintain defensive posture only. No aggressive actions." She turned to face her crew. "But we're not going to sit here and be dissected, either. Hassan, can you adapt our quantum shields to block these scans?" The chief engineer's fingers were already flying across her interface. "Working on it, Commander. If I remodulate the shield harmonics and introduce a randomized quantum fluctuation pattern." Her voice trailed off as she worked. Then a smile of satisfaction spread across her face. "Got it." The Equinox's shields shimmered with a new pattern, creating a barrier that the alien scans could no longer penetrate. For the first time since the encounter began, the alien vessel's actions changed. Its pulsing patterns faltered, then shifted to a new configuration. Its geometric structure contracted slightly, as if in surprise. "They didn't expect that," Reyes said softly. "They didn't expect us to adapt." The alien vessel emitted a new series of energy pulses, more focused this time, probing the Equinox's modified shields from different angles, testing for weaknesses. "They're trying to find a way through," Hassan reported. "But they won't. The randomization algorithm is evolving faster than they can analyze it. A new transmission burst forth from the alien vessel, more complex than before. The ship's AI struggled to interpret it, the displays flickering with the strain of processing such dense information. I think, Cohen began hesitantly, I think they're confused. The mathematical structures in this transmission contain what appear to be logical inconsistencies, like they're trying to reconcile contradictory data. Reyes felt a glimmer of hope. They underestimated us, she said. They expected primitive beings with predictable responses. We need to show them how wrong they are. She turned to Park. Prepare a response transmission. Not just mathematical principles, everything. Art, music, literature, philosophy. Show them the full spectrum of human creativity and thought. Let's give them something they can't categorize. As the Equinox's crew worked to compile this unprecedented transmission, the alien vessel continued its probing, its attempts becoming increasingly complex, but no more effective against the adaptable human defenses. Transmission ready, Commander, Park announced after several minutes of intense preparation. Reyes nodded. Send it. The Equinox broadcast its message, not a simple greeting now, but a flood of human experience and knowledge. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony intertwined with quantum physics equations, Shakespeare's sonnets alongside genetic code sequences, abstract art paired with mathematical proofs. The message was not just information, it was humanity's soul laid bare, a declaration of their complexity, their creativity, their fundamental unpredictability. The alien vessel's response was immediate and dramatic. Its geometric structure began to pulse erratically, its perfect symmetry faltering. The energy emissions became chaotic, uncoordinated. I think, Hassan said with a hint of wonder in her voice, we just broke their algorithm. The human factor. The alien vessel's erratic behavior continued for several minutes, its once perfect geometric structure now fluctuating unpredictably. Commander Elena Reyes watched with cautious optimism, sensing a fundamental shift in the encounter. They're recalibrating, Lieutenant Cohen observed, analyzing the changing patterns. Their entire approach was based on categorical analysis, sorting us into pre-existing parameters. We just demonstrated that we don't fit. Chief Engineer Hassan nodded in agreement. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but their methodology appears rigid. They didn't anticipate creativity. The alien vessel suddenly stabilized, its form contracting into a tighter, more concentrated structure. A new transmission began, different from the previous ones, less overwhelming, more focused. They're adapting their communication approach, Cohen reported. This is simpler, more direct. I think they're actually trying to communicate now, rather than just analyze. The transmission appeared on the main display as a series of basic mathematical sequences, followed by simple geometric shapes, a triangle, a square, a circle. Reyes understood immediately. They're starting over. Basic concepts first, establishing common ground. She turned to Cohen. Respond in kind, but add something uniquely human. Let's continue to challenge their expectations. Cohen thought for a moment, then composed a response. The same mathematical sequences and shapes, but with a subtle alteration. The final shape was neither geometrically perfect nor completely random, but an artistic rendering of a human hand. The alien vessel pulsed once, twice, then emitted a new transmission. The same sequence, ending with what appeared to be its own approximation of the hand, though rendered in its geometric style. Progress, Reyes said with satisfaction. Now we're having a conversation. Over the next hour, the exchange continued, growing increasingly complex. The humans introduced concepts of emotion through musical sequences, of metaphor through carefully constructed visual patterns. The aliens responded with their own versions, not quite grasping the full meaning, but making sincere attempts. Commander, Sato interrupted, his voice tense with new concern. Sensors are detecting multiple new energy signatures, similar quantum patterns to our Visitor. The main display shifted to show the surrounding space. 3 new entities had appeared, their geometric structures similar to the first, but larger, more complex. Reinforcements, Jackson suggested, his hand hovering near the tactical controls. Or supervisors, Hassan countered, coming to check on an unexpected situation. The original alien vessel contracted further, then extended tendrils of energy toward the newcomers. No visible communication occurred, but the energy patterns between them fluctuated in what was clearly an exchange of information. "They're discussing us," Cohen said softly. The 3 new vessels expanded simultaneously, their structures unfolding to create a triangular formation with the equinox at its center. Energy pulses, more powerful than those emitted by the first vessel, washed over the ship. "Shields holding," Jackson reported, "but these scans are orders of magnitude more intense. Our randomization algorithm is struggling to keep up." Reyes felt the situation balancing on a knife's edge. The newcomers clearly represented a higher echelon, perhaps a different perspective. Their approach was more aggressive, less curious. "Hassan, we need something new," she said urgently. "They've seen our shield adaptation. We need to show them another aspect of human ingenuity." The chief engineer bit her lip, thinking rapidly. "The quantum resonance drive," she said finally. "It's still experimental. But do it," Reyes ordered without hesitation. Hassan nodded and began inputting a complex series of commands. The Equinox trembled slightly as its experimental drive system, designed for emergency maneuvers, activated. What happened next defied the aliens' apparent understanding of physics. The Equinox didn't simply move. It existed in multiple probable locations simultaneously, a quantum superposition that made targeting or scanning impossible. From the aliens' perspective, the human ship was everywhere and nowhere, a violation of deterministic reality. The effect lasted only 30 seconds before the experimental system automatically deactivated to prevent overload, but the impact on the alien vessels was profound. Their perfect formation dissolved, their geometric structures contracting and expanding erratically. "They didn't know that was possible," Hassan said, unable to keep the pride from her voice, at least not from beings at our technological level. A new transmission erupted from all 4 alien vessels simultaneously, a concentrated burst of information directed at the Equinox. Cohen studied it, his expression shifting from concentration to surprise. "This is different. Not analysis, not basic communication. This is," he paused, searching for the right word, "respect." The transmission contained complex mathematical proofs, but unlike the earlier ones designed to demonstrate superiority, these acknowledged the uniqueness of human approach. They included variations on human mathematical principles, extrapolations of theories that Earth scientists had only begun to explore. "They're showing us paths forward," Hassan whispered, awe in her voice as she studied the equations. "Possibilities we hadn't considered." The 4 alien vessels rearranged themselves, no longer surrounding the Equinox but positioned alongside it, as equals. "I think," Reyes said slowly, "we just changed their categorization of our species." A final transmission came through, simpler than the others, but somehow more profound. It was a series of interconnected nodes representing different species or civilizations, arranged in a hierarchical structure. Earlier transmissions had placed humanity near the bottom of this hierarchy. This new version showed a significant repositioning, not at the top, but in a unique branch, separate from the others. "They've created a new category for us," Cohen interpreted. "We're anomalous, unpredictable, valuable." The alien vessels began to withdraw, maintaining their new formation. No longer predatory or dismissive, but cautious, respectful. "Are they leaving?" Jackson asked, uncertainty in his voice. "For now," Reyes replied, "but I suspect this is just the beginning." As the last alien vessel prepared to depart, it transmitted one final message, a simple sequence that even the human's limited understanding could interpret as coordinates and a time measurement. An invitation, Cohen said. They want to meet again, more formally. Reyes nodded, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Send acknowledgement. Let them know we'll be there. When the alien vessels had vanished as mysteriously as they had appeared, Reyes addressed her crew. I want full reports from all departments. Everything we learned, everything we observed. Humanity just took its first step onto a much larger stage, and we need to be prepared. As the crew dispersed to their duties, Hassan lingered on the bridge, studying the final transmission. It's remarkable, she said quietly. They came expecting to find primitive beings, easily categorized and potentially dismissed. Instead, they found humans. Reyes finished for her. With all our contradictions and creativity, our adaptability and unpredictability. What do you think happens next, Commander? Reyes looked out at the stars, now seeming closer, more accessible than ever before. We show them what humanity truly is, not just through our technology or our science, but through our art, our philosophy, our endless capacity to imagine and create. She smiled. We show them that the universe is far more interesting with humans in it. The Equinox continued its patrol through the outer solar system, carrying with it humanity's first true contact with an alien civilization. Behind them, Earth remained unaware of how close it had come to being dismissed as insignificant and how uniquely human qualities had instead opened the door to the stars. In the vast darkness of space, humanity had passed its first test, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through the one thing that truly set them apart, the human factor, creativity, adaptability, and the beautiful unpredictability that made them who they were.